Pleased to be joined by Senator Joni Ernst, Republican from Iowa. She is in town in Chicago, our fair city, speaking at the Bastion Institute and later this afternoon at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Senator Ernst, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
So how do you respond to the concerns raised by Rand Paul?
Well, I think there are a number of valid concerns here, and one is that we absolutely should have oversight of the dollars that we are spending in this conflict. So his idea of an inspector general, which I think is a fantastic idea, one that will watch the dollars and make sure they're being spent appropriately. Where I might differ from Rand Paul is that the United States does not operate in a vacuum. And we do know that with the threat Russia poses in Ukraine, it is destabilizing not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world. And so those ripple effects of what's going on in Ukraine is going to create difficulties in other countries. We know that Ukraine is a huge breadbasket for not just Europe, but for the Middle East and Africa. And in some of those regions reside some of the worst terrorist groups. And when there's food insecurity in some of those countries, we know that those terrorists can gain momentum by gaining partnerships with local populations that are starving. So it is about stability economically with trade, but it's also about our own national security as well.
So it's planting season right now, though, and the farmers aren't in their fields in Ukraine. So what is going to happen then? Because the exportation of wheat to those countries that you just mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where we have grave concern is that Ukrainians will not be able to produce what they normally do. And so we will see an approximate 40 to 45% reduction in the Ukrainians' crops this year. And going forward to the difficulties in eastern Ukraine with planting and then again with harvesting whatever they can get into the ground this spring. So we will find regions in the Middle East that will be starving, regions in Africa that will be starving. We'll even find desperation coming from China. China does also purchase a lot of its commodities from Ukraine. So desperate times make for desperate people. And again, it does create an instability around the globe that we're hoping to avoid.
With respect to NATO and Finland announcing it intends to apply for membership, maybe Sweden will follow, perhaps others. In terms of global stability, should the United States be in support of those Nordic countries and perhaps others joining NATO? Does that enhance the stability of the world, or does it escalate and perhaps make the situation in Eastern Europe more precarious?
Yeah, I think it can enhance security. Of course, the Russians will take any move as escalatory. It's one of those things that Joe Biden has done a very good job at is, pointing the finger and saying any move we make is going to cause Russia to do more. Well, if Joe Biden sneezes, Vladimir Putin could say, oh, this is escalatory. So I do think having additional countries that are willing to participate in NATO exercises, more countries that are willing to up their GDP on their own defense, I think that's good because then it does also lessen some of that burden on the United States as long as we hold them accountable for their own security. So having additional partners, I think, is good as long as they are holding up those NATO standards and are willing to participate and engage in their own defense.